Welcome back. As I said on this show, I will be introducing you to many people in the community who I think don't get their recognition for the success they've done in working with people improving their health. And so what I decided to do, I was blessed recently by being introduced to our next guest, and he has a dynamic program. And what I want to do is have him come and explain to us some of the common problems that exist in the community that a lot of his clients are suffering from, and a lot of stuff I'm hearing from my own clients. So I'd like to introduce you, Dr. Rodney Ellis. Dr. Ellis, nice for you to be here, sir.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Ellis is the medical director of the Rosebud Physicians Weight Loss Program. And so what him and I had done recently, we got a chance to have a conversation. And Dr. Ellis, we talked about a lot of things, but there were two issues that really came up that you said was really, really concerned about you. And the first one was common with most men is erectile dysfunction.
Yes, in fact, I had you come, Greg, to our men's program because in men, especially obese men, they have problems with erectile dysfunction, oftentimes because their male hormone is level. The male hormone level is low. So in fact, I want to show in our first slide that there is a relationship between the brain and hypothalamus where hormones are produced and the testes. So that there's the penis and the testes are shown in our diagram, and the relationship is that the hypothalamus sends signals down to the testes to produce testosterone. Well, it turns out that in obese men, that testosterone is actually metabolized by the fat cells, and it sends a false signal back to the brain that there's enough testosterone, so the brain cuts off its production. So the key thing that I wanted to really have people understand that for male erectile function to work, you need three things to be working. You need to have that testosterone we just talked about. You need to have proper vascular supply to the penis. And you have to have the nerves that are working the blood vessels and working the sensory tissues down there intact. And therefore, there can be diseases that affect each and every one of those areas. And obesity is a big one. And this is why in my weight loss program, I have a lot of men interested in that issue. So if you actually go to the next slide that explains these things a little bit more, you'll see that in fact the normal sexual anatomy is shown, where there's the testis is a little bit bigger than it actually normally is, but it's emphasizing that the testis is very important in the sexual function. In a normal erection, in fact, the penis gets blood supply from the release of something called nitric oxide, And when that's, that has to be stimulated by the testosterone, and if that's not an adequate supply, we have problems. If the circulation is not adequate, such as it is with cigarette smoking, hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, those things too will affect the blood vessels and affect the ability to have an erection. And then finally, the nerves can be affected by diabetes, for example, or spinal cord injury or something like that. So to briefly say what occurs in the obese patient, we make sure that their testosterone levels are good. If they're obese, we want them to lose weight so they can get rid of any kind of diabetes or high cholesterol problem that they might have. And then we actually can possibly give them additional testosterone if their testosterone level is low, or we can give them some of the new drugs that we see always advertised on TV, the Cialis, the Testim, all those different drugs that are oftentimes advertised on TV.
And that's my concern, is that having someone like you on here, you could come on our show and you could give us some realistic solutions versus the traditional, everybody goes to the doctor and you take a pill because we know pills have side effects.
Right. So the natural way, obviously, is to make sure that your health is good, that you're not smoking, that your blood pressure is normalized, that your cholesterol is normal, your circulation is good, and those things are the best and natural way to do this.
Well, see, now having Dr. Ellis on the show gives us an insight on the medical side and the science side of how our body works, which many of us take for granted. And usually we wait till it's too late to where we get the pre-diabetic or we get the diabetic status. So what we want to do in this show is give you some things to think about that you can do right now at home to reevaluate and examine what you're doing with the cigarettes and the food, things like that. Now, Dr. Ellis will be back in future shows as well. And what we want to do with him is hear from you about some questions you may have, so then he will come back on the show in the future and we'll be able to fill those questions for you. But Dr. Ellis, once again, I really appreciate it, sir.
It's my
It means
pleasure.
a lot to me.
Okay.
And I'm sure what you just offered our fans and the viewers out there is going to be very beneficial and people can apply immediately, and that's what we're asking you to do. So we want to thank you, Dr. Ellis, and we'll be back.